Hey everybody, welcome back to Best Commando. My name is Kevin. I am your guest host for today. And today we're going to be talking about something that I love to use for my everyday trading card gaming. And that is dice.
A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando.
Okay, dice, we all use it, or I'm assuming most of us use them for our trading card game experience. For me personally, it's been Flesh and Blood, and it's been really fun collecting and using a bunch of dice. And what I'm about to do is to talk about my dice, take you guys on a journey with dice, and let's get started. Okay, here we go. So, when I first started playing Flesh and Blood, I was trying to figure out what I can use to denote certain things during games when I play this game, Flesh and Blood. And the biggest thing, well, there were two things. There was the pitch and equipment, right? Because with equipment in Flesh and Blood, a lot of them would have these battle-worn texts, and whenever you use them, you want to keep track of how many counters that equipment have. So a lot of times I would use dice such as these. So this would denote one battle-worn counter, right? Another thing was to keep track of attack value, right? If you're coming in with, say, coming in for 9, then you would want to denote this as a 9. Coming in for 9. And I just want to keep this in mind. I'm going to be using Flesh and Blood as my point of reference when I talk about dice. So for those who are not familiar with the game, that's okay. We're going to make it as easy to understand as possible with the focus of this being dice, okay? So, and that's the thing about dice, right? Like it helps to denote different values, different things that are going on in the game, because this game is not easy, right? There's a lot of things about this game that requires us to keep track of, and using dice helps that a lot, and in turn enhances the gameplay experience overall. So let's get back to the journey that I'm about to talk to you all right now. So I was looking for a set of dice. I didn't know what to get. And then the first set of dice that I came across were these beautiful Chessex Borealis Sky Blue colorway with the white pips, okay? When I saw these at a store, I just thought, wow, these look really cool. It just gives off these icy vibes. A lot of things come into my head when it comes to different dice that I buy. And this one in particular, very random, but I was thinking about Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and there's an ice level in there. I think it's like the 5th one. And I just thought, wow, like, okay, it reminded me of that level because I really like the music. And I know this has nothing to do with Flesh and Blood, but the point is, there's always a connection that you can make when it comes to the dice that you choose to pick, you choose to buy, and you choose to play. And so that was my first intuition when it came to buying these dice, and mainly as a way to help with my gaming, to enhance my Flesh and Blood experience. So. As you can see, I only have 11 here. I had another one, because it usually comes in 12, right? And the thing about this was the 12th dice that I had, it chipped off on one of the sides, and I lost it. So it's really unfortunate, but, I have 11 here, so it's all good. But yeah, these are the Chessex Borealis Sky Blue colorway with white pips. And I'm going to say the word Chessex pretty often, because Chessex is a very popular brand that makes dice. They are based in America. I believe they're based in Fort Wayne in Indiana, if I'm not mistaken. So They are the brand that you will probably see a lot when you play trading card games in general at your local game stores and other stores in general. So, yep. So that is that. And then this pretty much started my whole journey with dice, because when I thought about this, I'm like, oh, it's just dice, right? But as I began to realize, it's a lot more than that. So there comes these Chessex. They're both in the speckled line. So these are called the Chessex Speckled Recon. So they're dark green with black speckles with white pips. And then these are the Speckled Lotus. They're orange, yellowish, I guess more orange, with red speckles and green pips. So these were my next purchase for my dice collection and for things I can use for playing Flesh and Blood. And so I really like these because okay, I'm gonna take a step back. So with the green, I like these a lot because at the time when I bought these, I was exclusively playing with Briar, okay? And I wanted something to denote, the forest theme, her theme as a Runeblade, using, the Rosetta Thorn as her weapon. And given that Briar was my first hero, I wanted something to reflect my affinity for the hero. And so I thought that using these green dice would fit the bill. And they're really cool, right? We actually have a friend who plays with us, shout out to Teak. He actually used these same dice, 16 millimeter size dice. Well, these are 16 millimeter, but he used the 12 millimeter, so a bit smaller. So he used the same kind of dice when he and I were playing Flesh and Blood. Early on when I started playing, he was actually playing with Rhinar, okay? So that was his hero choice. And I just noticed at the time he had these speckled recon dice that I thought were really cool. And so I just thought, oh, okay, this is something that I should get and add to my collection and be able to pair with my Briar hero. So that's the primary reason. And I just want to clarify, Teak had the 12 millimeter sized, and I have the 60 millimeter. The 60 millimeter size is very standard amongst a lot of dice that you'll see in the wild. It's a good size. I like them a lot. And yeah, so there's that. And then we have these speckled Lotus. So very similar to Speckled Recon, different colors obviously, same size, 60 millimeter. And I decided to pick this up alongside the Speckled Recon that I mentioned because one of the things that I truly treasure in my life is the Mid-Autumn Festival that we celebrate in Chinese culture. I'm Malaysian Chinese American, and that is one of the second most important holiday just the second most important celebration / festive holiday for us is the Mid-Autumn Festival. Although we don't take any days off for that. We typically use that. We like to celebrate that particular holiday, that festival, and with mooncakes and just different be able to be with family and loved ones, friends, what have you. It's super important for us, and I wanted something to reflect that because with the mooncakes that we usually eat, it comes with, some of them come with lotus filling, and when I thought of speckled lotus, I'm like, oh, lotus filled mooncakes. So quite a bit of a reasoning there, but that was it. This is why I got these, and they're super cool. Now you're probably wondering, wow, so green pips, you showed green dice. Is there a theme here? Yes, green is my favorite color, so that's another reason why I have these dice in my arsenal, okay? So there you have it. Next, we're going to talk about these. So these are interesting because I've already been collecting dice at this point. Super cool, right? And I was looking for something that would give me that feeling, the nostalgia of my Texas Hold'em poker days back in my 20s, and it brings me a lot of memories. And when I think of dice, I think of casinos. I think of the signature red colorway with the white pips, super iconic, right? I'm trying to remember if the ones they use at the casinos are translucent. I think they are. So yeah, so these are pretty much these are dice that I bought at a random store a while back. I think it was early 2022, and they were just so awesome. Like, look at them. They're not as rounded as like the ones I have been showing you guys earlier, but they're just very iconic. I don't use these too often in my current Flesh and Blood play, but I just love to have them to remind myself of all the times that I've played poker, and just to remind myself of my past life. With my dice journey, you'll always find things that are just unique, right? And things that I found are like these dice right here. They have lighthouses and owls. And it was from a trip that I took with my family. So I live in Portland, Oregon, but I took a trip with my family. My parents came over to visit, and we took a trip down the coast. And there's a town called Florence, and they have a shop in that town that sold board games, tabletop games, accessories, what have you, and they happen to have these Wonder Trail branded dice. So these are the lighthouses, and these are owls, okay? I love lighthouses. One of my favorite things in my life. I always like to visit lighthouses. There was one close to Florence called Hasita Head. That's a very famous one along the coastline of Oregon. And these are cool. Interesting enough, this denotes the number 1, and because the opposite is 6, right? So actually, I just want to take a side note. For those who may or may not know, the way that dice are usually constructed, let's take this beautiful Borealis dice, for example. When you look at the numbers, the marked sides, you're looking at how they place the numbers. So 1 to 6 on the opposite side, 2 to 5, and then you have 3 to 4, right? So there's a theme here. I'm blanking on the reasoning why they're doing this, but if you add up the sides opposite of each other, they add up to 7. So 1 plus 6 is 7, 2 plus 5 is 7, 3 plus 4 is 7. Okay, so that's just a tangent. Back to these. So these denote the number 1. They have a pretty nice feel. I like them a lot. I don't use them too often in my current Flesh and Blood games, but I just love having them. And it just gives me a memory that I can keep with me when my family came to visit and we went to the coast, especially parts of the coast that I haven't been to yet. Because I like to go to the coast every now and then, and going to a town like Florence, getting these really makes the memory come alive. So these are 2 of my favorite sets of dice. So there you have it, lighthouses and owls. Owls, I'm not sure what I can say about these. I don't have any affinity towards owls. I mean, they're cool, but at the moment I don't really have much to say about it. But they're just really cool. I just love them. That's another thing too, right? Like, not every dice that I own will have a very glamorous or amazing reason why I own them, but I just thought they were cool. Simple as that. Okay, we're gonna move on. All right, so interesting enough, I did not know that these sort of dice exist, right? When I started playing with Andrew and our other awesome friends, with Flesh and Blood, they had, some of them had these. They're dice, but they're not your typical, pipped out, right? Like, because with regular dice they have pips, but these have actual numbers, and I thought it was interesting because it's easier to read, right? Because it's like, oh, I can see the number 1, and that might be subjective. I mean, it is subjective depending on whether you can read pips faster than the actual number. But to me, these were just easier for me to read, and I just liked how these looked. I don't have a brand, or I don't know where these came from in terms of the branding, but I'm just gonna. I mean, they're basically just numbered dice. I believe these are 60 millimeter as well. So as you probably have seen already so far, these are all 60 millimeter in size. Not all of them that I own are in 60 millimeters, but for now we're in the 60 millimeter category. Okay, so back to these. They're really cool. I usually have them on hand in case I need to denote arcane damage from Flesh and Blood or just attack power. So pretty cool, very clean. Love them. Yep. All right, now we're gonna get into. Excuse me, I have my notes here just in case. I want to get into bigger dice. So I showed you all 60 millimeter size, but now we're gonna go into the 20 millimeters. Okay, so they're the big boy dice because I'm a big boy. I love big boy. I love big boy dice. So these are 20 millimeter. If I'm gonna make a comparison, this is 60 millimeter and this is a 20 millimeter. Okay, so there is a sizable difference. I happened to find these in the just earlier in 2022, and man, these are so wicked. I mean, look at these. These are called the Chessex Gemini Black Copper colorway with white pips. They are so beautiful, and like some of the other dice that I own, I did not know these even existed because I thought that dice typically just existed in one size for the most part, but these are actually very accessible to get. As much as like the 60 millimeter ones, so at least in our area in Portland, Oregon. And so it's super cool to see these and to just like if you roll one, like, oh my gosh, that would be a good roll for a Scabskins, right? Scabskins being the Rhinar legs equipment, or excuse me, the Brutes legs equipment. Levia can use that too. Anyway, these are awesome, and to make a connection, they remind me of coffee. I love coffee. It's a beverage that I drink almost every day, whether to get some caffeine in or just part of my routine, right? So when you think of coffee, you think of these, okay? Black copper with the white pips. I think you can also relate this to Kassai because Kassai, the warrior hero, the young warrior hero, she has an ability she's able to generate copper, and I mean, this fits the bill pretty well, right? I mean, come on, like these are just, if I were a Kassai player, I would use these every single time. I'm not a Kassai player, at least not yet, but I just like to have these on hand. Next are these babies, also 20 millimeter, the Chessex Gemini gold green colorway with the white pips. Now, when I say Gemini, it is a line that Chessex makes, and Gemini is denoted as a two-toned colorway. So you see the green and you see the gold. And I thought that this was another good addition because when you think of green gold, you think of the tunic, right? You know what I'm saying? The tunic, I mean, you want to keep track of your tunic. Tunic for 1, tunic for 2. Oh, that's 4. It never goes 4. Tunic for 1, tunic for 2. Tunic is up. You know the resource is coming. It's ready. So I love these mainly for this, and it just gives off a nice feeling just even looking at them and pairing well with the tunic. So there's that. And then we have actually, let me just put this away. Hope it's not too distracting. Then we have these. So these are translucent. These are the Chessex Nebula Black colorway with white pips. I guess it's not really black. It's kind of more like a clear, dark bluish, but that's the official title. So Chessex Nebula Black with the white pips. Has swirls inside. I don't have a particular reason why I bought these except I thought that they were really cool, and I just used them for keeping track of my pitch and sometimes for tracking arcane damage when I was heavily using Briar back in the day, especially for even for CC too. So yeah, for CC. There you have it. So yeah, that does it for the Nebula dice. And you're probably wondering, well, Kevin, you have a lot of these dice with white pips. Why is that? Reason being is that I like to have dice that have pips that are easily readable and easy to read on the eye, right? Because if you have like these, say you have these, right, and they're, instead of white, they're blue or darkish blue pips. They would not be the easiest to read immediately, right? You have to like squint your eye, you have to kind of like focus for a few more seconds. Like that's not what we want, right? We want to have readable dice that you can just see and say, oh, hey, this is coming for 5, or you have 3 resources floating, or 1. So that's primarily the reason why I like to have dice with white pips. Okay, cool. Next on the journey, this was one of my favorites, and I know I said that like a few times already, but for real, this is one of my favorites. The Chessex Gemini green-red colorway with white pips. A lot of you who I've played with, you probably have seen me use these a lot, whether it's for high roll or odds or evens. Actually, just as a tangent too, that's another reason why it's good to have dice, right? It's like because in Flesh and Blood, when you want to start the game, there's a way to decide who gets to go first or second, right? One of which is use the dice, right? And so a lot of times we do high roll or roll odds or evens. So okay, that's just an aside. Back to the main story. So these green-red dice are super cool, simply for one of my favorite heroes of all time, and that is the Rhinar. Okay, when you think of green and red, you think of Rhinar. You think of when you have those blood rush turns, when you have Alpha Rampage coming at you. It's signature. It's on theme. One of the things that I love to do with these dice is if I play a blood rush and just assume that I fulfill the requirements, discard a random card, and then the Intimidate will trigger off of Rhinar, right? One of the things that I like to say in conjunction with using these dice is to say the following. And that's just to read off what the blood rush actually does, which is your brood text get +2, draw 2, go again. So what I like to do is, as I'm putting 2 on the die, as I'm putting this 2 on my card while I'm doing the Blood Rush thing, I typically say this. I say, +2 brute tax, draw 2, go again. Bam! All in one motion. A very practical way and a cool way to use these dice, okay? So, but bam, okay? So this is, I'd say this is in my top 3 of like favorite dice of all time here. We'll just see that right now. Okay, so there's that. Next down the list, ooh, this one. Ooh, boy. Okay, so these are called the Chessex Gemini Purple Steel colorway with white pips. So these I bought at the same time with these green red. They're really cool. I like the colorway steel with the purple. When I think of these, I think of using Grasp and using Aether Ironweave. Exactly why I bought these. When you use them as battle war counters, I mean, ooh, would you look at that? Oh man, that's pizzazz if I have never seen it. Okay, if I haven't seen it, so yeah, they are very useful. I like to keep these in my collection. Next up, a pair of dice that I don't typically use, but I just bought them. I bought them in conjunction with alongside these, but I mean, they're cool. Look at the swirls, right? I mean, these are the Chessex Lustrous Slate colorway with white pips. Just a nice swirl of gray and blue. I don't know what to use these for yet. Maybe for a future hero, maybe in Outsiders, I don't know. We'll see. But gotta have them. Okay. Next up, we have. We'll put these in a set of 3. So we have this one, and then boom, and then boom. Okay, so I just have one of these each, and we'll start off with the Chessex Festive Carousel with white pips. Very festive. When I thought of getting this, I thought of the Everfest set that came out in February 2022. Sometimes I use these for my scab skin rolls when I'm playing brutes, primarily Rhinar. And then this one is the Chessex Gemini Black Steel with white pips. So this one is also really cool. I just like the coloring with the teal. I mean, it's just, this will be important later on, and you'll see why, but I'm gonna leave this on the side and we'll talk about it later. So this one is the Chessex Vortex Dandelion. So it's green, yellowish with white pips. Recently I've been using this quite a lot for my tunic counter. Let me bring back that tunic because, oh yeah, look at that. So earlier today, I was talking about the green, right? The green and gold. This one is just as cool as the green gold. But yeah, I've recently been using this a lot more. Just because at this time, it just felt more appropriate for using this particular dice. I love the Vortex line. I think it offers a lot of different swirls, just the aesthetics is just beautiful. I'm in love with the Vortex. Okay. So we have those, and we're gonna get into these. So these are D12s. Okay. So these are all from Koplow Games, Koplow Games, if I'm not mistaken. They are jumbo opaque. This one is the yellow colorway with the black pip or black pips. We'll just call them pips because that's just the inline. And then this is the green with whites numbering. So These are really awesome. A backstory for this is when I first was watching, when I started watching the Pro Tour New Jersey stream back in May 2022, I was watching the matches and I noticed that a lot of them were using these D12s to denote or to represent. I'll just use that. I think that's a better word for this. To represent the attack power for like say for example, Alpha Rampage coming in 4/9, right? And they would typically do that. And I thought that was really cool because it's bold. It's big enough to see on screen without having to squint your eye for like say these for example, right? Like if you saw this, I mean it's compared to using a D12. I mean, right? I mean this is better to see on camera, on stream. And I thought these were really cool. I think of these and I thought, wow, like I need to get these somehow, because the ones that they were using at the Pro Tour New Jersey event, I think they were either I was trying to figure out how they were able to get those. There were so many different answers about them, whether LSS made them or they're from like teacher supply stores or whatever. Like there were so many reasons, and I couldn't find a single source of truth. But with that, I just had to get these, and I was able to find a store nearby here that had them, and then I got these online, and I was lucky enough to get these online, like these. So they're just awesome. And when it comes to using these, one of the things that I love using these is to roll for the Intimidate ability on Rhinar. So when you trigger the Intimidate ability, you typically have to roll or you don't have to roll, but I, like many other Brood players, I like to roll to see which card I get to Intimidate out of my opponent's hand. So say they had 4 cards lined up here, right? Actually, let's just do that. I know these are not typically cards that I would use, but let's just say that they have. Let's just say this is their hand, right? And I get to Intimidate a card out of their hand. So what I like to do is with these dice, I like to say, okay, I'm gonna roll to Intimidate. So go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then I roll, that's a 10. So 10, so that would be this one, right? So this gets Intimidated. And that was my way of executing the Intimidate ability off of Rhinar. So and you're probably wondering, well, Kevin, why don't you use the D4? Yeah, that's an option, and a lot of people do use it, but for me, this was I just want to do it this way. Because the thing is for me, like when I roll a D4, which I will talk about this later, when I roll it doesn't feel as, I don't know, it doesn't feel as rolly. It doesn't feel as fluid. That might be just me. I know that might not be the best reason, but it just, for me, it just, I guess, well, I just like having to, see this roll more. So this had more rolling power, or just more, that's the reason. I just like having to roll a D12. It just feels nicer. When it hits the table, like I just like to see it roll more. Whereas for D4, it's not as fluid rolling. Although I don't use a lot of D4s, but I will use this one, and we'll get into more why later. Okay, this is gonna be really important, at least to me. So, excuse me for the roundabout way of explaining that. Okay, so that is the D12s, and okay, here we go. Oof. Did you hear that? That is the sound of the big boy dice. Again, I'm a big boy dice guy. I love big boy dice. So this giant is the Chessex Festive Water Lily colorway with white pips. Okay, 50 millimeters. So let's compare. This is the 60 millimeter, this is the 20 millimeter, and this is the 50 millimeter. So it's a pretty big dice. Pretty big, right? Yes, sir. This is perhaps one of my favorite. I would say it's in the top 3. Okay, it's in the top 3. This is one of my favorites of all time, and I like how big it is and how it's just. I mean, yeah, it could be in your face if you like put it really close to your opponent, but for me, I don't do that, right? Because we don't want to be rude in trading card games. We want to use these for practical reasons. And the biggest reason for me to use this is for Tunic. Okay, now I know I mentioned that I used the gold with the green, the dandelion, and I use this. Okay, I used this quite a bit, especially in ProQuest season early this year, and for a few months last year. This one is really cool because it's very easy to read, right? Tunic for 1, Tunic for 2, Tunic is up, Tunic for 3. And oftentimes, for a lot of us Flesh and Blood players, one of the biggest mistakes that we can make is to miss your Tunic trigger, okay? Just miss the Tunic. This is not a good feeling, and it sucks when that happens. So I specifically bought this to make sure I don't miss my Tunic. And so far it's been 95% successful. Okay? Yeah, so really cool. And it's also a great conversation starter when you play with different people and they're like, oh my gosh, like I've never seen this dice before. And it's like, yeah, then you just have a conversation there, especially before you start a match. I mean, it's just a really good way to go about things, and I just love this. I love that reasoning more for being a conversation starter than for actually Tunic, because in this trading card game, you know, for me personally, it may not seem like it, but I do have anxiety when I meet like different people and trying to figure out like what to say at times. And so, you know, having this, especially with people I'm not familiar with, like it's just a good conversation starter, right? It's like, yo, got the Tunic dice, you know, that's what's up, right? I mean, it's all good. Okay. So we have that. That was the big boy dice. And let's see. Okay, so now I want to get into something a bit more personal, as if I'm not already. So I have these, and these are very special to me. And this one in particular, this is the Chessex Gemini Black Shell with the white pips. So bringing back this in. Very important. I think I might have said black steel. I meant black shell. So black shell. These are the Gemini black shell with white pips. So this one's a 60 millimeter. And it's very important to me because this was actually a gift from a very, very famous Dash cosplayer / aficionado / Flesh and Blood player. Her name is Rachel, aka Max Ferocity on Twitter. Super cool person. We exchanged goodies at Worlds in San Jose in November 2022. We were at a UPF event, UPF being Ultimate Pit Fight, and I think I remember exchanging her Gongai stickers on behalf of our LGS Gongai. Shout out to Gongai, and she gave me this, and it's super cool. When you get things like this as part of a gift exchange, you just have to have, you feel loved, and it's just awesome to have, right? Like just having this as a memento. And I don't use it that often, but I always have to have it in my collection because, you know, when you make those sort of like passing moments, moments in passing, it's nice to be able to receive these. With that wasn't the only gift that I received from that Worlds event. I received these as part of this, as a gift exchange. You know, I was lucky enough to get these. These are from Push the Point. They're an amazing Flesh and Blood podcast. They're based in the UK. Shout out to Dan, Hamish, and Simon. and they made their own dice. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, these are the red/burgundy with white pips. I think it's part of Vortex line. And these are really cool, and they hold a lot, just like this particular dice. These hold sentimental value for me as well, because I'm a big fan of their podcast, and it was awesome because I finally got to meet my role model for Flesh and Blood, Simon Denning. You know, we had a very short conversation in passing at Worlds, and I just thought it was really cool that he was able to give these to me. I didn't expect him to give me anything, because I was just hanging out Gongai stickers at the time just to promote our store, Gongai, and it was really cool that he gave these to me, and I always carry these with me everywhere. So shout out to Simon. He's also part of Team Dice Commando, same team that I'm on and play for. So yeah, super cool guy. And yeah, push the point. Check them out. They're really cool. They're cool like Dice Commando. I put them in the same echelon. So yeah, I love these. I love all three. Okay. All right. So that's quite a bit. Oh, okay. I know. Oh man, I almost forgot these. Okay, so. We'll talk about this one. Okay, so these are my current most used 20 millimeter Chessex Vortex Malachite green with yellow pips. Okay, I love these so freaking much. They are just divine. They look great. Look at the white swirls within these. It's just, these are perfect. Okay, they are usable for Briar. They are usable for Rhinar. They're just very, very versatile. And you're probably thinking, well, Kevin, they're not white pips though. You usually get white pips. Why did you get ones with yellow? Well, sometimes when you find something that you really like and you're like, wow, these are just beautiful as heck, you just make exceptions, you know? I know I have a preference for white pips because of the readability of the dice, but these are pretty readable too, okay? They're pretty cool. I love them. I use them all the time now, and I'm not going back to any others. Well, at least for now. We'll see. I'm just a big fan of these, and when you play Flesh and Blood quite a lot and you want like your daily drivers, this is it. These are my daily drivers. If you were to play with me, if and when you do, especially in the Portland area, you'll most likely see me using these, especially with Tunic as well. Well, yeah, sometimes I do, but you know, right? It actually works, right? The yellow with the green, perfect. But I mean, look, this is hard to replace, right? Anyway, yeah, Chessex Vortex Malachite green with the yellow pips. All right, this particular dice, this is the only D4 that I will ever play with. Reason being, it was a gift from a goodies exchange with one of my favorite people in the Portland area. His name is Kevin Candy. Shout out to Kevin. He's a big dice aficionado like myself, and we did a dice exchange, and he gave me this, and it's so cool. I love it. It's like dragon scales. They're green. It's gold, and it's just, I mean, I know I said earlier that I don't like to roll D4s, and I typically like to roll D12s, but whenever Kevin and I play against each other, I will make an exception. D4, okay? I started playing with these a lot more often, especially against Kevin, I may consider using this more often against other people. But yeah, I just switched back between these two now for rolling for the intimidate trigger when I play Rhinar. So Kevin's awesome. Kevins are usually all Kevins are awesome. Okay, I'm just gonna say that right now. I hope that stays that way for forever. But yeah, thank you, Kevin, for this. It's really awesome. So, okay, what do I have left? There is quite a bit. Okay, so I didn't mention these yet, but I'll keep this short. These are the Chessex Festive Water Lily colorway with the white pips. The only reason why I bought these was because I thought it was cool to see these come into play at a game store that I started playing at. Shout out to Rainy Day Games. They actually had these in stock, and I thought, oh wow, this is cool. So it matched my big 50 millimeter giant dice here. So only reason why I bought them. And yeah, they're just lovely. I just love the water lily colorway. It just, I mean, how can you not, right? It's festive, like the festive line of Chessex. So, all right, and I don't have a lot of D20s, but this one I love a lot. I don't use it as often, but this is a carryover from my Magic the Gathering days, and it's actually a good D20 to use to represent life, because in Flesh and Blood, when you play Blitz, we usually start at 20, or typically the heroes start at 20. So in this case, Rhinar and or Briar. So very simple, right? 20 life. So yeah, that's why I have it. And back in the Magic days, you usually start at 20. So very good to have. Last but not least, I have these. These are wooden dice. These were originally made by one of our awesome friends, Sean Cowan. Shout out to Sean. Sean is awesome. He was gracious enough to make these for our crew and for others that love the game of Flesh and Blood. And yeah, it's just, so originally these were lighter in color, but I was able to wood stain and finish them with a golden pecan stain. So really cool. These are really awesome because these denote the attack power of cards. So let's take back Alpha Rampage. So coming for 9, you just put that bad boy there. Bam! Coming for 9. Like the way these denote attack power, I saw dice that were similar to this in the Pro Tour matches, or when I was watching the streams for Pro Tours for Flesh and Blood last year. And they were using these big dice that had translucent colors, or opaque colors. I mean, there were just different kinds of big dice that they used for this, and some of them actually had the attack symbol, and I think that's part of why Sean made these. And yeah, it was just really cool for him to make these for us. And I got a set. It comes with coins too, like with Go Again, Dominate, but we're talking about dice here, we're not talking about coins. So yeah, super cool. Thank you, Sean, for these. And on that note, I just want to thank Rachel and Simon for these dice too. I don't want to forget. So appreciate everyone who was gracious enough to bestow, or it's probably the wrong word. Gracious enough to give me these dice. Okay. Yeah. So these are the gift dice. I will always have these. They're awesome. And that is my dice journey. I know it was quite a lot. I know that there were parts of the conversation where I took a few tangents, some roundabout reasons, but you know what? That's how it goes at Dice Commando. especially as your guest host. My name is Kevin. Thank you for listening and taking the time to take this journey with me. Having dice is very fundamental for any trading card game. I love them. I will continue to love dice. They are a passion of mine, and they always will be. So, with that said, I'm going to jump out of here. Thank you again, and go Commando.